Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to our last piece. Can you believe it? This is our last piece. Unless you clap a lot. Just. Well, as you know, you're not the only people listening. We've got people all around listening, hopefully, if the internet works, which is why I'm speaking New Zealand English. Morning, Mum. I know it's dark outside for you. Thanks for getting up so early. Now, this last piece is by Henning. It's based on a cadenza, and I want to talk to you about the source of this music. I hope Henning doesn't mind me telling you that he actually got a ghostwriter for this piece. And this ghostwriter is the ghost of Beethoven. Now, as writers go, Beethoven is about the best you can get. As ghosts go, I don't know, Henning would have to tell you about that one. I mean, we know Brahms didn't like him hanging around, you know, it gave him writer's block. But didn't give Henning writer's block, quite the contrary. This is a marvelous meeting of minds, a meeting of spirits. Now, you know, Beethoven's ghost has been in very hot demand this last year. He's been turning, 250, which is a pretty round number, I think it's fair to say. And so, all of these composers want to cash in on Beethoven year. Playing, terribly pathetic homages to Beethoven, well. Beethoven has rejected every single one, and not only that, he seems to have unleashed on the world a global pandemic to stop any performances of any kind. Now, why does he make an exception for Henning? And how did these two spirits meet, and how did Henning manage to penetrate a genius like Beethoven, get through to that essence? Well, there's quite a lot of layers to pick off here, and we have a veritable Russian doll situation, I think you'll find. And there's a lot to unpack here, and so let's go. Now, on the outside, the biggest Russian doll, the one that you see first, is Beethoven the man. Now, he's quite smelly and very contrarian. Now, if you sort of pack this man, you get his oeuvre. Okay, his oeuvre. If you unpack that oeuvre, I think the biggest, fattest Russian doll you'll find under that is Opus 61. And what a fatty she is. It's the violin concerto. The violin concerto. Now, if you unpack Opus 61, you'll find that there's an Opus 61A as well. Opus 61A. It turned out that Beethoven wrote two versions of this concerto, one for the violin and one for the piano. Who knew? I didn't. And I've found out since that, the reason why nobody knows the piano version is that the violinists like to suppress this piece of information. There's a rumor going around that those pianists can get those opening octaves really in tune. So they want to suppress this piano version. Anyway, you unpack this concerto, what do you find? You find a dementedly long first movement. That's the lion's share of it. Dementedly long. The opening tutti, before the piano even comes in, it's like 10 minutes, something ridiculous. But this movement combines the sublime and the ridiculous. It opens with the most beautiful oboe melody. But it doesn't open like that. It opens with the timpani, with the kettle drums. The opening goes like this, with the kettle drums. Now, it's since been proven that Beethoven seems to be quoting a Gassenhauer, sort of hit song from his day, from his youth in Bonn, by Kapellmeister Heinrich von Schlobnik. And this hit was called Ein, zwei, los geht's, Spiel. And we'll come back to that little Gassenhauer that the kettle drum seems to be quoting. If you unpack the movement later on, you get a cadenza. Now, what's a cadenza? A cadenza is like a freestyle, you know. It's a free, like you know, we do. Like you've heard freestyles here, you've heard solos. Well, that's the classical version. Okay, a cadenza is like a classical solo where the soloist, you know, gets to play his own stuff. Okay, now, you know, that's a Russian doll situation again because it kind of has to encapsulate the movement itself. You know, it has to be a sort of microcosm of the whole movement. You know, the themes and you know the little zimph that you add to it and all of that. But you know, the obvious difference between a classical solo, a classical cadenza, and a jazz solo, like you hear tonight, is that like the band doesn't stop. I mean, the band in a jazz solo keeps on playing. The drummer keeps playing. Obviously, you know, you got the drum keep playing. In a classical concerto, I mean, the orchestra stops. I mean, you don't get a drummer playing in the cadenza. I mean, that would be sick, right? A drummer in the cadenza. No drummers in the cadenza. Except in Opus 61A by Beethoven, you get a drummer in the cadenza. Who would have thought? The kettle drums come back. He gate crashes the cadenza. Beethoven wrote this cadenza, he writes for the kettle drums again. And you think the kettle drum is going to come back with he comes up with something completely different. Get this. In the cadenza, the kettle drum plays. Oh, you didn't expect that, did you? Musicologists found out later, it took them decades to discover, that this is actually the same song, 1, 2, 3, 4, Spiel, in retrograde inversion. I mean, Beethoven, the master of thematic transformation. Now, in this cadenza, we've come to the center of our Russian doll, and we have this bizarre meeting point of light music, serious music, the sublime, the ridiculous, drums, piano, all together at once. And in the music business, we have a name for this, and that name is Henning Brandt, which is why he has made a reworking of this very cadenza from Opus 61A by Beethoven out of his piano concerto, violin concerto. So, you know, sit back and, you know, Beethoven's here. He's going to enjoy it as well. You don't think Beethoven's spirit is here? Come on. His filthy contrarian fingerprints are all over this event, I tell you. I mean, everybody knows that he was born on December the 17th. You cannot get a day further away than December 17th than June 17th today. It is Beethoven's anti-birthday today. And he's got an introduction in New Zealand English. I mean, we happen to be near his birthplace, but interestingly, on a small strip of French territory here at the Institut Francçais. So please welcome Beethoven's spirit and Henning's collaboration with him. This is called Ludwig van B.